Hey everyone, time for a quick video about flying. So before Warlords of Draenor, there was a big controversy about the fact that there was no flying in this expansion, or at least in the very first patch. And now that, well, the game is launched and the dust has settled, I think it's probably about time that I gave you my thoughts on the no flying, whatever, decision, now that I've actually got to play it and, roam around the place. So, overall, my opinions are very positive. I am glad that flying is gone. Now, of course, do bear in mind that I was never really too much of a fan of flying. I mean, it was handy for traversing, but I felt that it really compromised many key aspects of the game that make the, well, World of Warcraft have the world, which is really one of the most important parts of the game. So yeah, what it's really done for Draenor is it's just, I think, improved the zones. With the Draenor zones, A, they have probably made the best zones that they've ever made, and then B, they've taken away flying, so you experience those zones from the intended perspective while you're playing them. And yeah, that might seem a little bit controlling to people, but you've got to bear in mind that I think nearly every other MMO doesn't have flying for this precise reason, because it takes away from the sense of grandeur and the sense of scale that a zone has. And certainly, it's all panned out very well in Warlords of Draenor. I've basically heard nothing but positive feedback about the zones, especially how cool the set pieces look. And, it's important to think about it in that, say if you're running up to Anguish Fortress in Shadowmoon Valley, and you are on your small little, mountain. It's a big giant thing, it's looming over you, it looks scary, there's a bit more of a fantasy there, whereas if you're on a flying mount, you just kinda, it's tiny to you, everything's tiny to you, and everything's just boiled down to, I need to go from position X to, X to Y, it's just, it takes away the world from the world and just turns it into a sort of hold W for 20 seconds until you reach intended destination, then dive bomb onto the enemy. And during that 20 seconds, you don't really take in any of the cool set pieces or anything like that, and it's just, it's not as good. So yeah, certainly I think it's worked out very well from a zone perspective, just in terms of how it sort of affects the art and the design and the scale and the grandeur and all those lovely buzzwords. So yeah, that's the main thing that I think it's been good for. Now also, treasures and rares are a thing, and they are far more of a thing in this expansion than they have been in past expansions. Now, if you were able to fly, all that would happen is you'd load up, TomTom or just even handy notes, which I suppose many of us use at the minute, but instead of having to look and really search for treasures, or maybe do a jumping puzzle or something like that. No, you just fly up on top of it, you dive bomb down, you pick it up, you move on to the next one. There's no thought there, there's no gameplay, there's no real engagement from you, it's just going around collecting rewards, rather than actually doing a little bit of work to get the reward. And in general, when it comes to game design, if you're just giving out rewards for nothing, then you're going to have a very shallow experience that will wear thin rather quickly. Whereas it does seem like Warlords of Draenor has got quite a bit of staying power so far in terms of that kind of treasure hunting mechanic. I've basically heard nothing bad about it. Maybe you could imagine it being a bit of a pain in the ass in the ninth character through, but then again, what isn't? So yeah, that's the treasures covered. Now also in terms of rare mobs, there's a bunch of rares, I suppose similar enough to how they were in Pandaria, but now that the rares have got pretty cool things, like toy items, which I guess some of them did in Pandaria too, but also things like garrison resources, rare hunting is more of a thing now, and again, I think the rare hunting, if you have a flying mount, it just turns into going around, looking at the map, dive bombing onto the mob, flying back up again. Instead of, say, you, chasing down one of these rare mobs in a field or stumbling across it in the world. Yeah, flying just kind of compromises that whole experience. And certainly it seems like stuff's went, turned out pretty good. So that's the main benefits, I think, of removing flying. Now, the one downside of removing flying is your traversal speed and how quickly you get from X to Y. Well, first of all, I want to say that I basically don't notice it. Oh, honestly. First of all, the flight points in Warlords of Draenor are actually quite good in comparison to past expansions. Are they perfect? No. Are there edge cases in which the flight points are silly? Yes. Are there maybe too many edge cases than there should be? Absolutely. But in general, I found that the flight point experience has been fine, especially considering how, since we're centralized around our garrison, it seems like most flight points from your garrison to somewhere else in the world are pretty decent. Or at least that is the case once you've unlocked a decent amount of flight points and the game's actually got something to work with in terms of how it paths you. So that's worked out pretty well. Now in terms of just running around zones, well, again, I felt like there's always a flight point near enough where I want to go in a zone, so that's never really a problem, and I don't mind running around on my ground mount. That's fine. I don't feel like I'm in such a terrible rush that I need to just fly there instantly or something. And yeah, that stuff's all worked out quite well. I just honestly haven't even felt the desire to fly for the sake of speed, because I've been getting places in a quick enough speed, honestly. Now on top of that, you've got things like the Mage Tower, though I don't think many people actually use that. But yeah, there is the Mage Tower if you want it. I think there's also a few teleportation mechanics that come from the weekly quests. I know that I've currently got one which will take me to Gorgrond, so that's pretty handy, and just, yeah, in general, traversal's pretty nice. Also, it works out quite well when you're leveling that if you need to go to a new zone, the flight point will automatically be unlocked before you get there, so it just helps you traverse. Again, that's fine. So really what I think they've done here is they have mitigated all of the downsides, or at least most of the downsides, and they have, simultaneously reaped all the benefits. So it seems like it was just a very good decision on the whole, and personally I'm very happy about it. Now the big question is, what happens with patch 6.1? Do they open up flying? Do they not? Who the hell knows? It's a big question, honestly. Now, I think that it really depends on what's coming in patch 6.1. If 6.1 is going to bring us some island that's shot off to the side of Draenor, then perhaps they could get away with allowing flying on the main world and then restricting it on the new place. However, if 6.1 brings more content that's within the sort of core Draenor zones, then I don't think we should get flying back. Honestly, because as I said, traversal isn't really an issue, so I don't see the point in needlessly compromising that stuff. Yeah, overall, I just think it's worked out really well. Blizzard said that it was an experiment, you know, back when they announced this I think that was just after BlizzCon. No, it was at the end of BlizzCon, I think. But just after they announced it, they said, listen, this is an experiment, we want to see how it goes for a patch, or maybe the duration of the expansion, we'll see. And that's constantly what they've been saying, is that they're going to just see how it pans out. I think it might stay. The no flying thing might stay, because I've just seen lots of positive feedback. It seems like people are really loving the world, and overall it just seems like it's worked out quite well. So yeah, there you go, that's my thoughts on that. I'm sure there are definitely one or two people who just hate the whole no flying thing and are going to be really angry at this video, but hey, whatever. It's funny when people get super mad in the comments anyway. Yeah, well, there you go. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know what your experiences are with the whole no flying thing, what you think. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to stay tuned to the channel for more videos.